Okay. Let us see. Let me see.
Hey Kings and Queens, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a minute and I don't know what else to say other than life happens. No, what are you gonna do? It's been a rough quarantine. Woo, child. I'm super excited about this new episode of Girl Talk. I told you guys I was working on some new material, some new interviews, and I delivered. In this episode of Girl Talk, I actually got the chance to sit down with Tracey Sarpong. She is a young entrepreneur. She is also what I like to call a relationship expert. She has a podcast called Tried and Tested, where her and her girlfriends talk about dating and relationships and just dating in New York. I actually first met Tracey during New York Fashion Week. It was a fashion show in the Apple Store, and I was just immediately taken back by her kindness and her sweet nature. She introduced herself to me right off the back. We were waiting in line to see the show, and I remember she came up to me and she seemed very outgoing, and I loved her sweet nature. And she introduced herself, and we got to talking, and she told me about her podcast and dating in New York, and I thought, oh, it would be so great to have her on the show eventually. I'm stepping really far outside my comfort zone with this interview, but I don't know, I just thought it would be kind of fun to mix things up a little bit and just talk about different issues. Dating and relationships is something that is been a hot topic for a long time now, especially now because of quarantine. The way we are meeting each other is just different, and being now that we're all kind of like self-isolating, dating is just a little bit different. Hopefully not for too long. When this vaccine comes out in May, hopefully we will get back to normal dating. But I thought it'd be really cool just to sit down and talk to Tracey about dating and relationships and just sort of like her point of view of what it's like dating in New York City, because that's just a whole new situation in itself. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, this is something new for me. I'm stepping way outside my comfort zone. So I think this is going to be a fun interview and a fun episode. And I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. We talk about the nitty gritty, sex, dating apps, whether or not the guy should pay on the first date. We get into a little bit of everything. I think you're going to really love Tracey, and you're going to be interested to hear what she has to say on dating in general. So I hope everyone is staying safe and healthy. I cannot wait to dig into this. Before we get into the video, please like and subscribe. I am working on more Girl Talk interviews, so let me know what you guys like and don't like, different questions you think I should ask, what you guys would like to see, or who you guys would like to see on here. And hopefully I will be able to deliver. Thank you again so much for subscribing and watching my video. So let's get right into the interview. Peace.
So what would you call yourself? Would you say you're a relationship expert?
I don't think I feel like I could be a relationship expert for people who can learn from my experiences, but I'm not like a certified relationship expert. I think I'm just someone who likes to talk about relationships, likes to give my point of view, likes to learn from the mistakes that I've made, and I also like to talk to people about it. So like when I meet random people, I'm always asking them all these questions like, well, what would you do if this happened? Or, what do you think about this? And so on and so forth. So my forte is relationships, but I think in general, it's more or less getting people's mind right.
Like just listening to you and your girlfriends talk, I felt like I was talking to like my girlfriends. Like we were just in the living room talking together about like just relationships and dating and things like that. And what inspired you to make this? Do your girls always come to you for relationship advice, or?
So actually this is something like, so right now I'm 33, I'm about to be 34, but I've literally been like, this has been a passion of mine, I want to say, since I was young. Like I just always was so like, first when I was, I guess in middle school, high school, I was one of those girls who had a crush on everybody. Like I had a list of guys that I liked. There was the Hispanic ones, the black ones, the white ones. So like that was just something I always liked, but I'm not really sure what I don't know, like what got me into it. I just think that, some people like art, some people like sports, but like I always like to talk about relationships. Like I just feel like I just always had so many questions. And so the podcast kind of came along because this is what I do with my friends anyway. Like literally, whether it's audio messaging, whether it's over dinner, whether it's on Skype or whatever, like it's literally like we'll literally talk about relationships 24/7. And it's just my thing. And I actually got to host an event this year for Valentine's Day for about 100 and something people. So yes, yeah, and it was just all about relationships and things like that. So yeah, it's just something that brings me joy and something that also I feel like is a way to kind of like help people, because everyone doesn't have like the right, I guess, frame of mind. And I always didn't have the right frame of mind, but as I got older and as I learned different things and as I like to study it online or I read or I follow people, yeah, I just get more information. So.
I've had a couple of girlfriends who've been, having a hard time because they are single, and it's like you're also kind of isolated, because of quarantine. What was your advice, like, that you would give to single people when they're trying to cope during this time?
So it's actually interesting. So the event was more like a love day carnival. So it was just more like hypothetical questions and what would people do in certain situations. It was more like fun. It wasn't really like advice, even though we gave our opinions and stuff. But it was like the audience was there. We would go around and ask different questions and whatnot. But as far as single people, so it really depends because I think that some people like online dating, right? So I don't like online dating, but because I have a dating and relationship podcast, what I actually did during quarantine was I tried this app for about 5 days called Hinge. So
yes.
My friend was like, oh yeah, like there's some nice guys. But the thing is, when I got on there, because I don't like it, I didn't swipe for anybody. I didn't even like. I really just don't like it for me. I have a lot of friends who do it, but for me, I'm like, no. So I did like speak to a few people on there, and it's like one of them actually became my friend. But it's just like I feel like so. In my opinion, unless you had a clear goal of what you wanted to do with online dating, like as far as maybe like paying for a service because you really wanted to find love, if not, you might just find frustration. Because you have people on here who are looking for sex. They don't know how to communicate properly. The online world is easier for them because they don't have to deal with, like walking down the street and, saying, hey, how are you? Like they don't have to deal with certain things. They kind of skip over so many different steps. So for me, online dating is frustrating. But for some people, if you have the time, I don't even know any of the names of the sites except for like eHarmony. But if you actually were to put together a real profile that actually took time and, you actually could go through certain things, I think that could be helpful. I also do like reels and stuff, like little different things for like advice and tips when it comes to relationships. So one thing I noticed during quarantine was that there was different places you can still actually meet people. So like I went to the Apple store, and the Apple store, like it was like 9 o'clock in the morning, and there were so many fine men there. I was like, wait, wait.
Why go to the Apple store?
Yeah. So I think. I mean, one thing I would advise is you cannot stay in your house and meet somebody unless you're comfortable with online dating, right? But if you want to actually get out, I would say, like, I live in a park, for instance. Go to the park, go for a walk, you know what I'm saying? Go outside, get moving, be approachable. When you go to Target, Home Depot, like, these are places people have to go no matter what. Like, no matter if it's COVID or not. So just be more open, like, smile and say hello to people. And just keep the faith, you'll find something.
That is that you say that, like, you have to, like, be proactive about it, because I sit up here and I complain to my girlfriends. I was like, oh, it'd be nice to just, like, meet someone, like, I'm in New York and all that stuff. But it's like, it's not like this person is just going to come and knock on my door.
They're not going to break in your house, no. But people really think that, and then when they go out, they don't smile. And I'm a victim of, like, this is also me too, right? But at the same time, it's just kind of like, but I still do. Funny enough, okay, so I did go on one date literally in the last year. No, I went on 2, but I met somebody right before COVID. Like, it was right before, and so I feel like even on the train, like, let's say you see someone, you don't have to holler at them, but like, let's say like you're on the train or something, you can literally just say something like, oh, do you know what time it is? Or just any small thing, because once you speak to them, even if you have headphones and they're like, oh, she can hear what I'm saying, maybe I should talk to her, or she's next to me, maybe I should talk to her. So I feel like there's so many other like subtle ways that you can speak to someone where you're not shooting your shot, but you're just kind of opening the lines of communication. So if you don't want to smile and say hello, or like have eye contact, I feel like just say anything. Oh, I like your shirt. I mean, they may or may not be single. You don't know, but it's kind of just like anything to open up the lines of communication is what I suggest to meet someone.
So are you for? It sounds like you're for like women approaching men, right? Really?
People do, I mean, and maybe because for me, like I think I did it. First of all, when I did it, I didn't feel comfortable doing it, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't yield any good results. But I was young. Like I was like I had to have been like under 21 at that time. But I feel like, well, okay, when you say women hollering at men, so do you feel like you sliding in the DM, you mean, or do you mean like,
let's say like you're out at a bar with your girls, right? And I guess it doesn't have to necessarily make the first move, like you said, like shooting a shot. But if you're at the bar and you see a guy who's like ordering a drink, and like let's say like you come up and you make a joke, is that making the first move, or do you think you're sort of like making it easier for the lines of communications to be open, so letting him know that, hey, you can shoot your shot if you want to? Or is that more of like, do you think that's too much of the woman being the aggressor, or should the girl just only probably do that in a situation where it's like it can be intimidating, but you can tell that someone is interested? I don't know.
That actually, I don't think that's bad. Like I don't think that's shooting your shot, because depending on your personality, like for me, even if I'm not trying to shoot my shot, I may just tell a joke anyway, just because like I like to talk to people. So I think that if you did see a man and he was attractive and you went over and chit chatted with him, I don't think that that's shooting your shot. I think shooting your shot is when girls are like, oh gosh, you're so fine, like that, like like they're very like they're like the man in the situation, and you're doing too much. But I feel like if you start a conversation, like let's say you're at a mixer or whatever, I don't think that that's really like being the aggressor at all. I think being the aggressor is when you kind of take over the role of the man. So you're calling him first, you're trying to set up a date, you're the one like pursuing him. So that's what I mean as far as like, that's kind of a woman shooting her shot, because you're taking over what he should be doing. And it may work for some people, but for me, I don't like that.
That is so funny. And it's like, I feel the same exact way.
Yeah,
I do, because I feel like in those sort of situations, you're kind of like, if something were to happen, if something were to blossom, like after you do that, I kind of feel like you're sort of setting the precedent for the whole relationship. If it becomes a relationship, it's like, okay, well, it's like, are you going to be the aggressor all the time?
Yeah. Some people like it though. Like there's women who actually like that, they're okay with it, because that's how whatever comes naturally to you is probably what's the best for you. But of course, like I said, for me, I've seen women where even like some people I know who ask for advice, and I feel like when they're talking to me about the situation, I'm like, well, like you're too aggressive. So if I'm not even the guy, but I feel like the way you're talking to me, I would be scared as a man, because you're just too forward. You're just doing too much. So it really, like I said, it really depends. But like I said, for me, I'm the opposite. I like it. We will sit here till that kingdom come. If you don't make a move, we're not going nowhere. Like, and that may not be the best thing, but like that's just, everyone is comfortable in the way that they, and what they're used to, what they've grown up doing.
I'm surprised to hear you say that you don't like online dating.
No.
So how has quarantine affected? So do you find that you're still meeting people? Like even though you're going out to the grocery store, are you and your girl still meeting guys, or still able to interact with people, or?
So so I'm trying to think of my girlfriend. So most of my friends, actually, we all live in different states, right? So I live in Jersey now, but we all went to school in different areas. We all live in different areas. Some of my girlfriends are married, so that's different. Some are engaged and living with their, boyfriend or whatever. Then you have some who are fearful of COVID. They don't go out. So as far as like single women, right now, I would say that for me, when I go out to the store and stuff, like I look like a whole bum, like a whole hobo, right? It's just like, so, but it's not that people don't smile and say hello, but it's just in my mind, I am not even in that, you have your mask on, which I hate. So that's pretty much it. I would say though, in my case, because we go to church in Connecticut, we have men and women from everywhere, right? So that is a place where, because it's a lot of young people too, that people can meet other people. But I mean, other than that, like I'm someone who goes out a lot. Like I go to all types of events and stuff. But since COVID came, I would say that I've been to like 3 events. I went to an all guys basketball tournament in Brooklyn. And even then I was like, Tracey, smile and say hello. Like I was telling myself, because there was just so many men. But like, so I think like something like that. I went to a cookout in Bronx, which was really, really big. And I feel like, so there's certain things like that where I feel like those are places that you can meet someone. But overall, it's like, I think in those situations, because we're so limited in what we do now, you really have to actually like be actively like smiling and, hey, something to get them to notice you, because men don't like rejection either. What I used to think about people in New York, right, is that men don't care. They don't fear rejection. Like, they be like, hey, come here. Like every girl that walks by, hey, come here, come here, come here. But as I get older and I have, more guy friends, they don't like to be played, right? They want to know that if I'm going to talk to her, I'm going to actually be able to, to get her information or whatever. So, or get her phone number. So, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think it's really like, nobody wants to get played nowadays.
How would you say that quarantine has like affected some of your personal relationships?
Because I just had so much time. So I feel like that's kind of what quarantine did. And also, you have the whole, let me hit up my ex, let me see what he's doing, because you're bored. So I think that quarantine was a good thing and a bad thing. Luckily, I'm not I wasn't at anybody's house I shouldn't have been at. I wasn't creeping over nowhere. I wasn't busting it low, splitting it wide, whatever they call it or whatever. I was, but definitely, I think it entertained some conversations I should not have because of quarantine. But I also was like, I had plans this summer, like that just passed, 2020 summer. I had plans, okay? I was like, homegirl, I'm losing weight. I got this, I got that. And then I ain't had nowhere to go. So I just knew I was meeting my husband this summer. Like I was like, listen, I'm boom, boom. Like I had a whole roadmap for my life. And so it didn't go that way. But I think I also got to spend time with myself, which, it's cool. But it definitely was. It was just a different type of year for me. But I would say that if anything, when it came to like men, I definitely entertained people that I probably shouldn't have. I probably spoke to people that I probably shouldn't have, or maybe longer than I should have.
You see this pattern with, girls, are getting back, or, men too, people getting back with their exes during quarantine, because it's just kind of like, it's been like a really vulnerable time. I mean, and that could be toxic in a lot of situations. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
So I feel like, one, there's 2 type of exes, right? So first, I don't think anybody should get back with an ex, because I feel like you guys broke up for a reason. And most times people in life, we don't change unless something drastic happens or we really want to change, because it's very hard to change. Like you have to actively go against everything that you know. And so I feel like people don't change. That's one, but that's like, with your regular ex that you were dating. Then you have the kind of ex that was a situationship that it didn't go anywhere. A lot of people I've heard were talking to somebody on the phone day in and day out for many days. You felt like you were in a relationship, but it didn't really progress. And so you have going back to those kind of situations as well. So, but I think, like I said, for me, unless somebody can really like, and this doesn't happen often, unless they can really prove that this is a new person, I've changed my ways, I've, I've seen the light, whatever it is, I don't think it's a good idea. And I think that some people actually stayed together during quarantine who shouldn't have.
I was listening to this guy, I can't think of his name, this guy's podcast the other day, right? And he was talking to this lady who I guess she considers herself a relationship expert. And she said, a lot of the questions that I do get is that, how do I get over my ex? Like, how do I get over my ex during this time? And she was saying how like a lot of people, especially I guess like, millennials, they have this idea that it's supposed to be easy. You know what I mean? Like, a certain amount of time is supposed to pass and you're supposed to get over them. Yeah. But really, the only thing that you've changed is your mind. You haven't done anything else. In your day-to-day routine, other than change your mind. So it's like, just piggybacking off what you were saying, it's like you have to. It's like a new way of life. You have to like change your way of thinking.
People feel like it's not supposed to hurt or be uncomfortable, but it is. Like anything that's different than what you're used to, especially when your feelings are involved, you have to actively do something different. But male and females alike, people do not move on. They don't. They would rather sit down in a hole and dig a pit and sit in it, and rather than move on. And it's like, I thank God I'm not like that, but that's like detrimental, because the reality of it is that more than likely, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line, you're not going to end up staying together because you're not getting what you both need. And then you're unhappy, you become damaged, and then when you finally break up, now you find someone who may be worth your time and you don't even know what to do with them. So it's a negative cycle sometimes when it comes to that.
Let's say you're one of the lucky people who have found someone like during quarantine, right?
Yeah.
You know, you guys have, I don't know, let's say you've done Hinge, you've done the whole video dating thing, and it's going great. How do you decide, how do you have that conversation of like when you're just talking to the point like we're exclusive? Who brings it up? How do you bring it up? How do you get to that point? I've talked to some of my girlfriends about it, and it's kind of like, a lot of times they're in the situation where it's like, oh, we're not putting a title on it. And it's kind of like, it's almost like you're in like this, I don't know, you're just kind of like in this like weird like circle. Are we together? Are we not? We're kind of just talking. It's like, how do you get the conversation to be like, okay, what are we doing now? You know?
I would say, I don't even know the percentage of people. So majority of people, I would say, or maybe like 70%, 80% of people who are just talking are actually having sex, right? So I feel like with that, there's an issue when you can give somebody your body, but you can't even ask a simple question, or you can't discuss something as simple as, what are we doing, right? But for me, I think that the way I used to date and the way I date now is different. And so I think it's very important that when you meet someone, you deal with them as a friend, right? Even if it's just for 2-3 weeks, a month, or whatever, but you find out all the questions that you need to get answers to, right? And if you don't get answers, that's an answer, right? But you just kind of need to figure out, what is it that you're looking for? What is it that you want to do? And guys lie, women lie, people lie, right? But my thing is that I feel like now is not the time to waste time. So when you're talking to this person, no matter how good they look, no matter how nice they sound to you, if you don't want to waste your time, before you even get any further, you need to have a conversation about, what are you trying to do? You know, are you looking for a relationship? Like, do we have the same kind of commonalities? Like, what do we have? And because, like I said, my situation is a little bit different. So for me, being a Christian and the way that I live, I'm not having sex until I get married. Now, I've had sex before in the past. I was living, doing what I was doing, but I'm not anymore. So now, even like the way that I would date now is kind of like I said, you would be my friend, and we kind of have to figure out, like, what exactly is it that we're both looking for? Because I just feel like when you go with the flow, you end up in a situation where, oh, we're just, what does that mean? We're just what? Situation where you have real feelings for a person, but those real feelings are kind of like you're trying to hold it back in because he doesn't want a relationship, and you're scared to ask him more than likely. And so you end up in a situation where when you finally get the balls to ask him 6 months, a year down the line, he's like, oh no, like, we're just friends.
And you're already like in love with this guy.
Exactly. And then you're stuck. It's kind of just like, if you can open up your legs, you can open up your mouth beforehand and just kind of be like, hey, like, what's up? Like, what exactly is it? And I mean, some guys will bring it up. Like, some guys feel like, oh, you're the one I want, and they'll let you know. But even when a guy brings it up, that doesn't mean that because he brought it up, you guys need to be official. You need to see what he's working with. Does he align with what you want? You know what I'm saying? Like, because I think that, like I said, in this day and age, right, I'm not dating to just date. Like, I used to date, like, okay, look, I'm in a club, I want to get some free food, or he looks good, I'm trying to get some money. Like, whatever it is you're trying to get, that's what we were dating for. Oh, I want to go here, I want to travel, whatever it is that you want to get. But now it's like, okay, we done did that, been there, done that, so now what, right? And so at this point, like, for me, I'm dating because I want to get to know someone that is actually a friend to me. Like, if you have the question, you need to ask it. And then you need to they don't give you the answer that you need. Oof. People are not afraid to say what they need to say when they need to say it. Now, sometimes the man may not be ready, but if he's not ready, one thing I learned is that don't help him. Like, if he's not where he needs to be, it's like, because when he's ready, he'll find the woman he needs. But it's like, women, sometimes you end up helping him, like, go back to school, do this, do that, and you feel like, you're doing something good. And sometimes it could be good, but other times he's just going to leave you anyway. It's really tricky. But yeah,
it's really hard to listen to men talk about relationships and growth, especially when it's just like, when it has to do with, like, it's always like the woman has to change, and they need to be doing this, and they need to be doing that.
If you don't know what you're supposed to be doing in life, it's very hard to find a woman, right? Because typically your woman is your helpmeet. It's somebody who actually is able to work with you towards your goal. And it's he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord, basically. So my thing is that, let's just say you find a man, like, and you consider yourself a good woman, right? Let's just say you find a man and your man wants to be president of the United States. And you don't have a desire for politics. You don't have a desire to help him in politics, even though you're a good woman. And so it's kind of just like you would not be the right woman for him because he knows where he wants to go and you know you don't want to go there. You get what I'm trying to say? So I think that when it comes to a man choosing a woman, he has to first know what he wants to do. Because let's just say, okay, he doesn't know what he wants to do. And then he dates you. And then he finds out, okay, well, you want to be a fashion model. You don't want to be, in the public eye. You want to do whatever you want to do, but you're still a great woman. And he wants to be president. You guys are not on the same path. And now it's going to cause a problem in the relationship or the marriage. And so I think that, like I said, a guy has to first know that my life is going in this direction. Now, when I meet a woman, because there are a lot of good women out there, there's a lot of bad women as well, but I need a woman who can see my vision and maybe her vision also aligns up with mine. Like we're going in the same way. So for like me, I like media. I like communications. I like all of that. I like DJs. I like, anything that has to do with the media world. So I would say that more than likely the person that I'm going to end up with would have to be something in that, like, maybe in that realm. But of course, I'm the one who's supposed to be helping my husband, right? So it's pretty much, we have to really align in our morals and what we're looking for. Let's say you want 10 kids and he don't want any kids. Like, you're not really aligned in what you're doing in life, what you want in life. And so I think that it's not really just about being a good woman, because there's a lot of good women. But it's more or less now finding the person that can actually help you fulfill your purpose in life, what you were made to do.
Look, those conversations aren't happening. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, people, I feel like sometimes couples are afraid to have those conversations about like the future and like what they want. But, sometimes, I mean, maybe sometimes love just isn't enough, because if you guys are not on the same page about your, the things that you want, financially, spiritually, morally, then it's like, sometimes it just doesn't work.
You want to be together with your partner. So like, you can't tell me you want 10 kids, I want 0. You can't handle money, I can't handle money. We both can't be together. Like, we're going to be broke. And so I think that there has to be a lot, like there has to be conversations had. And I think that if you can't have it with the person you're dating, who should also be your best friend, then who are you going to have it with?
I was reading this article, it was like in GQ. And this guy was basically talking about how he was in a relationship with this girl. And, they both had really great jobs. He was like an investment banker. And she did something in PR. And, they made like a reasonable amount of money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They decided that they were going to move in together. They got engaged. And basically what ended up happening was that, like, ultimately it didn't work out because they had different ideas of what they wanted for their future, and they never had that conversation. So basically, he was an investment banker. He was like 29, and he had every intention. He's like, I want to retire by the time I'm 50. Yeah. And it's like, obviously, and they're both making like really great money. She's making great money, but she's also in the mindset, and she's like, she has the house that she wants. Yeah. She's finally in a great place in her job. She wants to enjoy, she wants to spend her money. So one of the things on her list is that she wanted to buy this brand new Tesla, like, right? It was super expensive. And he's kind of like having a conversation where he's like, well, I want to retire by this age. And I know you want to enjoy your money and, kind of like live your life. But it's kind of like, are we going to make this work? Because, she's spending. She wants to go on vacation. She wants to do this. She wants to travel. She wants to do this. And she wants to enjoy her money. But he's like, kind of like, I want to save so I can, I can retire and enjoy, his money later on. But ultimately they had to break up because it just didn't work out. Not that they didn't love each other. They were in love with each other, but it's like financially it just was not a good fit.
What kind of conversation are you guys having if you're not talking about each other and life and what you want? And so, now you see these TikToks and things where women are upset. They're like, listen, I just met you. I want kids. I want this, and they're letting people it be known. But I think that that's what should have been going on from jump, because nothing is attached on the first week, the first day. Like there's no type of like deep rooted feelings. If we're not on the same page, we got to keep it moving.
Oh, I want to get back to your podcast though. So what can you talk about? What were some of like your favorite moments on your podcast?
I know we talked about like the first date, who should pay for the first date, right? Some people feel like the first date shouldn't even be a real date. They feel like it should be at Starbucks, which I'm opposed to. Some people feel like you should split the tab. Just all different things. I feel like, so we talk about that. We talked about heartbreak, what it was like, crazy exes. We talk about friendships, after college, making friends as an adult. So we literally talk about everything, like on this, like any topic I can think of or that I ask my friends about. I'm like, boom, that's a podcast episode, and then we just get on there and we talk.
I love that. Wait, can we go back to what you were saying? So you actually don't think it's okay for a coffee Starbucks date, like as to be the first date?
Well, so when it was my coworker, he was telling me, so he broke it down. He said because he meets women online, he does go to Starbucks at first to like just to kind of see who he's dealing with before they plan a date. Because I don't do online dating, like literally what happens is when I meet someone or when I did meet someone, I would pick, like they'd be like, oh, where do you want to go eat? And I'll pick a restaurant and we'll just go eat. So for me, I can take myself to Starbucks. So like, what am I going there with you for? Like, for me, I don't want it.
Because you're meeting this person, you've already had that conversation. So you guys already connected on that level. Yeah. See, that's the thing about online dating. It's kind of like, you don't know really who you're meeting until you actually meet them, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I get it. So one of the guys that I didn't meet in the 5 days that I went there, he was saying that like, he just invites women to his house. He doesn't do the dates like from online because he's like he meets a lot of women and it costs a lot of money, and he was like sometimes it's like you go on a date and nothing comes from it, etc., which I think is a whole dub anyway. But like, I mean, everyone has different different thought processes, like where, oh, let me cook for you, or who knows, maybe he sleeps with all the women that he meets. I don't know, but it's just like.
And that's also ultimately where my mind goes. It's kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to cook for you, but it's like, you're like, what else are you getting out of this? You know what I mean? And as for women, it's kind of like, especially if you're meeting someone online, it's like, you don't know who this dude is. It's like, I don't know if I want to go to his house.
Right. And it's disrespectful too. Like, it's just kind of like, you're not worth it for me to even, like, it's like, what's convenient for me as a man? I want you to come over. And so that, like, it's like you're not worth a date, because once you do that, and I've had a friend who done it, they don't take you out after that. Man feels like he wants to test you. So he wants you to meet him somewhere. You pay for your own coffee. He pays for his own coffee. And it's like a meeting you guys have. People are using different avenues to now kind of do less, but make it like, whatever. So
you think about it, you meet a person on Hinge or Tinder or whatever, you go out, and then it's like you're sleeping with him. Yeah. I mean, I know it's kind of like that's sometimes the thought process, but it's kind of like you've known someone for what? Like you meet somebody on Tinder and Hinge and you're having that conversation, and it's like, it's not even like, and it's not always consistent. It's like you're talking, it's like, oh, we've been talking for like a 3 weeks and or 2 weeks, and we've decided that we want to meet. But not even 2 weeks. It's like, what, 2 days out of the 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. 2 days out of the 2 weeks, maybe 3 days out of the 2 weeks, you've decided that you want to meet. You've known this person like for an hour, a couple hours, and you're jumping into bed with them. Yeah. It's just, I know it's like, I know a lot of people consider that old school, like coming, like, but it's just kind of like, that blows my mind. It's like, well, you literally don't know this person, and then I feel like it's such like an intimate thing where it's like, especially for women, it's like we have so many things I feel like that can go wrong with like our bodies and things like that.
They kind of figured out a way to kind of get to women, right? So therefore, all I have to do is act like a man never did to her, right? So be super nice, be super consistent, and make her feel like I'm gonna stay like this. And the reality is, once I hit it, that's it. Like, the dating world is really, really, like I said, I've been there, done that. I get it, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, it's just not worth it. Like, it's just at the end of the day, because you end up, now you have all these pieces of yourself and you're just kind of like, oh man, ain't this and da. But no, it's kind of like you have a decision to make now. Like, okay, do I want to behave a certain way? Do I want to attract a certain type of man? And even so, like I said, even if you just don't have sex with them, like, that can save you a lot in general, because if you study their character and see who they really are, oftentimes they're single for a reason, or they may not be single. They may be married or in a relationship and meet new people. So yeah, people do the most sometimes. It ain't good.
If someone is interested in you, they would make it known. If you're confused, then it's probably not it. He's probably not interested.
Yeah. So a man can be interested in you and not want to date you. And I think that people, that's where they get confused, because you can be a beautiful person, you can have a nice shape, you can have a nice personality. So men can be attracted to that, and they can actually like, oh, I like her, but I don't like her enough to date her, or I don't like her enough to leave my situation that I'm in now, or I like her, but I'm not ready. Like I know one of my friends, he's a musician. Girls love him, but it's like he will not date somebody seriously again until he gets his career off the ground. So that's his number one focus. He doesn't care if you like, some girls wait around for him, they're waiting, but he's like, listen, like that is my number one focus. And so once that's done, then I can date. So there's a lot of different things, but I'm saying that, so it's more than if a man likes you. It's, does he want to be with you? I've had a few conversations with guys who I knew they liked me, because you know when someone likes you, and you know when someone doesn't like you. You give each other, like, you can. So I don't even care if it's your boyfriend. You know when he does not like you. So I feel like some people, they come to the point where that if you tell a woman I like you, they feel like the woman feels like that's her man now. And some girls are like that. You know what I'm saying? Like they just take it and run with it. But then I feel like, I'm like, listen, if you tell me that you like me, I just want to know, because I want to know how I need to behave, basically.
Exactly.
But some people feel like, no, like, oh, she's gonna think we're together now. And I'm just like, it's not that deep. You know what a guy friend is, and you know what a man who likes you is. There's a difference, right? Because a guy, they're kind of like your brother. They don't really care if they get back to you right away. They might answer your text message, they may not. They'll answer it 4 days later. You know, it's kind of like, it's a relationship, but it's not like. But when a guy likes you, he's contacting you day in and day out at some way, somehow, some form. He's, making like conversation. He doesn't want to end the conversation. Like, he enjoys your company. So there's a difference, and you can feel the difference.
How do you overcome being cheated on more than once? Like, how do you not become bitter when you're trying to put yourself out there and date again? It's like, how do you overcome that?
Well, I think that's a personal thing. I think you have to really, like, it's kind of like in your mind. You have to realize that, whatever reason they cheated for, instead of breaking up with me, it wasn't my fault. But I think that people have to kind of deal with people individually. Like, you can't say all men cheat, because all men don't cheat. Women cheat, men cheat, there's different things. But I think it's more or less, you have to work on yourself. You work on your character, work on your mindset, work on your self-esteem, and just kind of just also look for patterns. Like when you're dating somebody, get to know them for who they are. Like, talk to them and whatnot, see what it is they're looking for. Can you give them that? If you can't give it to them, maybe that would be a reason for them to cheat. Maybe if they want to have sex and you don't, they can cheat. Like, so you have to really assess the situation and communicate.
When you decided that you wanted to become like celibate, was that like a choice where you were just like, you know what, I need to find a man who is also God-fearing? And
Never.
Okay.
I was out here living my best life. Like, I'm talking about, like, out in the club I was living my best life. I had to learn my lesson the hard way. And so it took me, like, I wasn't even somebody who wanted to go to church. Like, I think that it was like, it got to a point where I just hit rock bottom. It was just too much going on. And I finally decided, like, look, people always say, like, don't have sex. I'm like, whatever. Like, that's for you. But for me, I think when I hit rock bottom, I was just like, listen, I need to change my life. I need to change my character. I need to change my ways. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And it's pretty much like it just wasn't working for me. And so for me, then I'm like, okay, you know what? I want to be someone's wife. I want to be someone's mother. What I'm doing, it's a pattern. I'm seeing the same type of people. I'm not getting what I want. I'm not getting the results that I want. And so for me at that point, because I had hit rock bottom, it's like I have nowhere else to go. Either I can stay where I am, or I can decide to follow God and follow a different path in life and actually take it seriously. So for me, yeah, it wasn't like it was by choice. It's kind of like, okay, well, what else can you do now?
My last question, Tracey, is like, so who should pay for the first date?
I think the answer kind of came up, whoever asks for the first date. Because you have women who meet a man and you ask him out on a date and then you want him to pay for it, right? So I think if a man is trying to court you and he asks you, he should pay for the first date. If a woman asks, maybe you guys can go Dutch, or maybe you can pay. I said, I'm not paying for no date because I can take myself out to eat. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not taking you with me.
Oh my God, I love this. This was so much fun. Thank you so much. And do you want to tell people like what you have coming up, or talk about your podcast, or anything you want to talk about?
Yes. So, I mean, this year I have a lot to do, but basically I have my podcast. I need to do like a whole new season, which is, I'm getting in preparation for that. I'm looking for like people to do episodes. I'm actually coming out with a relationship card game that's on the way. I have my reels and my things that I do, my lives and all of that. So hopefully when COVID is kind of done, I'll get some more like hosting and speaking engagements, but that's pretty much it. Like, life is, I'm just trying to keep it moving, 2021. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Tracey. I really appreciate this. It was so like nice talking to you. I wish